You know that feeling, right? You're in an argument, you know you're right, but you just can't quite articulate it in a way that's completely bulletproof. Well, that very feeling, that human drive to create a perfect system for thinking, that's a quest that has been going on for literally thousands of years. And this is the story of that quest.
And really, it all comes down to this one simple question. How do we know we're right? How can we tell a solid, valid argument from one that just sounds good but is actually full of holes? This isn't just for philosophers in ivory towers. This is the bedrock of everything, from science and law to the computer in your pocket.
So, where do we even start? Well, like a lot of these big ideas, our story kicks off in ancient Greece. And the first person to really try and systematize the whole thing, to turn reasoning into a science, was the one and only Aristotle. And just take a second to look at this timeline. It's kind of wild. For more than 2,000 years, Aristotle's ideas were basically the beginning and end of logic. Then, boom! In a pretty short burst of time, guys like George Boole and Alan Turing came along and completely revolutionized everything, setting the stage for the entire digital age. So what was this big idea from Aristotle? It was called the syllogism, and it's actually beautiful in its simplicity. You start with two statements, called premises, that you just assume are true. If you structure the argument correctly, the conclusion that follows is absolutely 100% guaranteed. It's kind of like a little logic machine. Put two truths in, get one new truth out.
All right, let's look at a classic example. And yeah, it's a little goofy, but it makes the point perfectly. First premise, no professors are rich. Second premise, all handsome men are professors. If those two things are true, what's the inescapable conclusion? Therefore, no handsome men are rich. Now, here's the key thing to get. Logic itself doesn't actually care if these statements are true in the real world. It only cares that the form, the structure of the argument is airtight.
But for all its genius, the syllogism had a major problem. A big one. It was just too simple, too rigid. When mathematicians and scientists tried to prove really complex ideas, they kept running into a wall. I mean, how on earth do you express something like x is greater than y or talk about infinity using a simple syllogism? The short answer, you can't. They needed a much more powerful tool.
So, to get beyond Aristotle, to build a logic that could handle real complexity, thinkers needed a totally new starting point. And they found it in something, well, something incredibly simple. The idea of a set.
Seriously, that's it. A set is just a bunch of stuff. A group of things. It could be the set of all even numbers, the set of people in this room, the set of all the books on your shelf. It sounds almost laughably simple, right? But this one idea, the concept of grouping things, became the solid bedrock on which we built pretty much all of modern mathematics and logic.
And what's great is that we can visualize how these sets interact. Think of sets A and B like two overlapping circles. Their union is everything in both circles combined. Their intersection is just that little part where they overlap. And the difference is what you get when you take circle A and remove the part that also belongs to B. It's simple, visual, and turns out to be incredibly powerful.
All right, so we've got sets, we can group things. What's next? Well, the next giant leap was figuring out how to reason about entire statements, entire ideas, with perfect precision. And that's where symbolic logic comes in.
And the way they did it was pretty clever. You take a whole sentence, a complete thought like it is raining, and you just replace it with a single letter, like P. And I have an umbrella becomes Q. By doing this, you get rid of all the messy, confusing stuff in human language, all the ambiguity, and you can focus only on the pure logical structure of the argument itself. And this is where it gets really powerful. A truth table is basically a cheat sheet for figuring out the truth with absolute certainty. Take this one for the word and. It shows us that the combined statement P and Q is only true if both P and Q are true. Any other combination? False. Period. No debate. It's like a calculator, but for truth. Okay, so if we can boil logic down to just manipulating symbols around based on strict rules, it leads to this mind-blowing question. Could we build a machine to do our thinking for us?
And that question got its answer from the legendary Alan Turing. This is his brilliant idea, the Turing machine. Now, this wasn't a real physical machine with gears and levers. It was an idea, a thought experiment. It's just an imaginary device that reads and writes symbols on a long tape based on a set of rules. But this one abstract idea is what defines what it even means for a problem to be computable.
So what can this all-powerful theoretical machine actually do? You're gonna love this. Just 4 things. Move left, move right, erase a symbol, or print a 1. That's literally it. The incredible insight here is that any problem that can be solved with a computer, no matter how ridiculously complex, can be broken down into a sequence of just these 4 basic moves.
And that sequence of instructions, that step-by-step recipe that tells the machine what to do, that's what we call an algorithm. This is the moment, the link between logic and machine. We finally have a rock-solid definition of a reasoning process that a machine could actually follow. This is the conceptual birth of the computer, right here.
But just when we've built this perfect, shiny system of pure black and white logic, we run into a problem. A big one. The real world isn't black and white. It's messy. It's full of maybes and sort ofs. It's gray. How do you tell a computer what warm means, or tall, or fast? So to tackle this fuzziness, we have to go back to that idea of sets. You see, in classical old-school logic, you're either in the set of tall people or you're out. It's a yes or no question. But fuzzy sets, they change the game. They say, hey, maybe you can be partly in the set. You're not just tall or not tall, you could be, say, 0.8 in the set of tall people.
This graph shows it perfectly. Look at the idea of being young. When you're 15, yeah, you're 100% in that set. Your membership is 1. But as you get older, your youngness doesn't just switch off one day. It gradually fades out along a smooth curve. There's no single moment you stop being young. That's how real life works, right? So what this all means is that fuzzy sets finally give us the math to deal with these vague but super common ideas. By letting things be partly true, by giving them a degree of membership somewhere between 0 and 1, we can start to build systems that think a little bit more like we do.
And this quote just nails it. Think about it. When you walk outside, you don't think, the temperature is exactly 73.4 degrees. You just think, oh, it's pretty warm today. Warm isn't a precise number, it's a label for a fuzzy set. This was a huge shift, all about making logic work more like a human brain.
And look, this is not some weird academic idea. Fuzzy logic is probably in your pocket right now. It's in your car's anti-lock brakes, it's in your camera's autofocus, it's in your washing machine. Anytime a machine has to make a human-like judgment call in a messy, uncertain environment, chances are there's some fuzzy logic working behind the scenes.
So you see the whole arc, right? We went from Aristotle's super strict, simple syllogisms to the perfect, crystal-clear world of symbolic logic and Turing machines, and then all the way to fuzzy AI, which actually embraces the messiness of the real world. It's this incredible, centuries-long story of us trying to pin down thought itself.
And that brings us right here, to today. We have machines that can reason with incredible precision, and they can even handle vagueness. But as we keep trying to make AI more creative, more intuitive, more like us, you have to wonder, what kind of logic comes next? What's the next chapter in this amazing quest?